Hey, we're here on the show floor. Thanks to Arconis for lending us their great furniture. I'm here with Ian and Corey from C&S Corporation, one of my favorite companies.
Thank you, and I should clarify that Ian is actually with Steer.
Steer,
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me how Steer and C&S are working together.
Yeah, so C&S and Steer, we've partnered on a number of projects over the years, but our most recent collaboration is really centered around airport net zero planning. And so, it's pretty clear that airports are in a position of having to achieve this challenge of net zero carbon by 2050. And there's a lot of questions about how to get there and what the right tools and strategies are. So C&S and Steer are teaming up to kind of provide the best of both of our companies in one full service offering for airports. And we're doing that by kind of tag teaming C&S's experience in design and implementation of initiatives at airports with some of the strategic and economic consulting that Steer brings to the table. And so by doing so, we're hoping that kind of this bottom down and top up approach really helps airports solve this problem in a cost effective and reasonable way.
Tell me about some projects that you're working on now, because C&S is very busy, Steer, very busy company. What's new?
Ian, you want to share some of that?
Yeah, we're working on lots of stuff, and including some great opportunities where we're working together. A couple of things that we talked about today as we were unveiling our new partnership was our recent work as a commercial advisor for microgrid at the new Terminal 1 at JFK, which is going to be the largest airport microgrid in the country when it's built. We think that's a really exciting development.
Wait, tell me what a microgrid is first, for the people that don't know.
Yeah. So the microgrid, it's a combination of basically solar, fuel cells, and battery storage to help create basically a power island around the terminal. And it's got some interesting benefits, right? So one is lower carbon power for the terminal, which is great. It also provides resilience from an energy perspective and cost certainty, which is a really interesting kind of commercial dynamic. That's something that we help the development team kind of think through. So that's an example of something relatively innovative that we've worked on recently. Steer and C&S are also working together with the Port of Portland with some of their planning work. And maybe Corey could talk a little bit about some of the work that his team has led around SAF and the future of aviation fuel there.
Yeah, and so we have done some SAF work at Port of Portland, helping them to understand what are the infrastructure implications of bringing in sustainable aviation fuel, what's the airport's role in helping to usher in that transition, and that really kind of gets to this big, hairy, audacious challenge of Scope 3 emissions at airports, which is really hard to tackle. But another area in a project we're really excited about recently is more targeted at Scope 1 emissions, so the emissions that are directly under the operational control of an airport. And so that's things like on-site natural gas, to heat your facilities, vehicle fuel, those types of sources of energy. And so historically it's been very challenging for airports to figure out how to decarbonize their heating systems in particular, because natural gas is just hard to get rid of. But one project we just finished up was a feasibility study at San Diego International, where we helped to evaluate the technical and economic opportunity for converting their central utility plant from natural gas to electric technologies. So we actually looked at air source heat pumps and helped assisted with some modeling to understand what the opportunities are there. And we actually teamed with AECOM for that effort. They were a great partner for that project. And so, with San Diego and projects like that, we're hoping that we can help airports tackle, not just the easy things. It's relatively easy to convert an electric vehicle. It's relatively easy to put in a solar panel, but there are some real big infrastructure limitations for some of these projects, like the one I just mentioned, or the sustainable aviation fuel. So we're trying to help airports chip away at those as well.
I feel like San Diego is a great place to do that. They're very open to sustainability ideas, and historically they've had some really great projects. What other airports are you seeing out there doing interesting things along this vein?
any that you would come up with off the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of airports, like you said, that are tackling this in different ways. We've done some work helping SFO to think about what the future of energy use looks like there. They've had some interesting experiences to share around some of the challenges with the California grid and different kind of resilience issues, which I think it sort of exemplifies and speaks to the complexity of this challenge. That not only are we focusing on net zero and decarbonizing aviation, but we also have to think about how do we distribute power. Where can we consume that? Where are these other various bottlenecks that are going to impact the organization? And then obviously there are commercial aspects to all this too. So it's sort of a fun challenge to try and take on, but the scope of it is really significant, and so we're excited to be working with airports to kind of try and figure out some of these solutions.
Seems like a lot of hot topics, a lot of buzzwords happening here between your two companies. What do you see happening down the road?
Well, I think we're excited about kind of where this partnership might lead. We think it's a fairly unique approach in the airport industry, and so one thing we're really thrilled about is today with the launch of airportnetzero.com, we released a airport decarbonization calculator, which is really intended to help airports chart their path to net zero and understand what are the different policy and technological levers that we can pull. Quite literally, it's actually designed to be a cockpit layout. It's kind of fun. So airports can play around with that tool and understand, okay, if we're starting at this baseline, what strategies are actually going to make a difference, and they might be surprised as they play around with the inputs on the tool. They may see that certain things do more or less than they might have expected to their emissions trajectory. So you asked what we think is coming down the road. I think maybe we're going to continue to evolve that tool and hopefully expand it over time, and we want to make sure that airportnetzero.com remains a resource that people can come back to keep learning more. We don't want it to be just a static resource for the industry. So stay tuned for more updates on that in the future.
Excellent. Thanks so much for spending time with us today.
Great.
Enjoy
Thank
the
you.
show.
us.
Thank you.